They did it exceptionally well. It was the perfect game for India for me.
So India have taken the series 3-2 and they did it the hard way. Absolutely brilliant from them. You're going to hear all about it and hear from Virat Kohli, myself, John Norman, England international, Kate Cross, and don't go anywhere for a truly brilliant moment of the day. And don't forget to comment below and subscribe.
Sam Curran hits another one to finish off. India have won this game though by 36 runs.
So if the fourth T20 win was all about the kids for India, the fifth T20 win was about the old-timers. Rohit Sharma, tick. Virat Kohli, tick. And Bhuvneshwar Kumar with the ball, tick. It was brilliant from India, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. You want your experienced players to be stepping up to the mark in the really key games, and all the players that you've just mentioned did that, and they did it exceptionally well. It was the perfect game for India for me. They bowled well, they batted well, they fielded well, they took all their chances. They were just outplayed. England outplayed today.
It's not often that a team posts 130 in 82 deliveries for a wicket and still end up losing, but that was just about how large a target it was for England and just how well India batted as a team.
Absolutely, and I said this on commentary, but I don't think England bowled too badly, but I think India just batted superbly all the way through. The way Hardik Pandya came in and he just took the game on, and that was what ultimately cost England, because they couldn't control at any point, they couldn't control the run rate. Well, we're going to talk about Kohli, we'll talk about Sharma, talk about Pandya, talk about all of it. Plenty to get on to, but let's hear a couple of the big moments for India today.
Absolutely brilliant batting, and what a way to bring up your half century. Rohit Sharma, 53 from just 30 deliveries. They ran further than Kohli hit it, and he has got back for 2, and he brings up his 50 from just 36 deliveries.
Well, England came in unchanged, but India once again tinkered with the formation. They've started with 4 different partnerships at the top of the order. Today, it was a turn of Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, and both hit 50s and set the platform for Kumar and also Pandya to accelerate beyond anybody's wildest dreams.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not often that you say that KL Rahul is the weak link, is it? But he was so out of form in this series that they had to make way for him. And you've still got Ishant Kishan sat in the dressing room, injured, unfortunately, for India. But, they've got so many exciting prospects for me. And I think that's what excited me about India in this series. You saw them tinkering, like you said. You saw Virat off the pitch, letting Rohit captain. And I think maybe that's what England lacked a little bit. Have they created more questions for themselves by not changing anything, by not tinkering with their team at all? But yeah, the World Cup in October, it's going to be an amazing tournament. It always is. It's in India. Was it the perfect opportunity for England to have a look at some of the players, and they didn't? Yeah,
absolutely. India did have a look at some of the players. We now know a lot more about Shreyas Iyer, Surya Kumar Yadav, as well as some of the bowlers as well. And when you consider Rishabh Pant hasn't really fired in this tournament as well, you're trying to work out exactly what lineup India are going to go in with. I suppose if there is one criticism, if it can be a criticism, is that you still don't know what their ideal template is, because they've gone in with 3 spinners, they've gone in with 5 bowlers, they dropped a bowler today to strengthen the batting. So is that a weakness, do you think, or does that actually show strength for India?
I'm thinking that's a real big strength for them. As a captain, you want options, and you want all players to be able to step up and perform at the right times, especially in the big ICC global tournaments. We've not even mentioned Jasprit Bumrah at this point. He's got to come back into this team. He's one of the best T20 bowlers in the world. But yeah, I think it's exciting from India's point of view, and they've got young players, young exciting prospects for me, which is dangerous as an England fan, but brilliant if you're an India fan.
Well, you can throw in Ravi Jadeja as well, who will probably be fit by then as well. But let's have a quick word about the bowling lineup as well, because they brought Natarajan in today. And much like Thakur in this series, much like Shahar, came up with the goods today. Not standout performance, but again, just shows the incredible strength and depth when you do consider that they will probably come in with Jasprit Bumrah and Bhuvneshwar Kumar as their opening bowlers when the World T20 comes around.
Yeah, and I think for me, the batters set the game up today. They allowed the bowlers, we saw most of them were going at 11s for majority of the game. But the batters, when you're defending 224, it's an easy game for the bowlers. I say that with a bit of tongue in cheek. But Yeah, it's just, I keep using the word exciting, but there's an IPL to play as well, which we've seen that the IPL brings these talented lads forward, and that's starting in a month's time. Could that change? Could more names be thrown into the hat for the World Cup? You don't know. On the flip side of that, you've got England players getting opportunities out in the IPL as well, so that will only strengthen our chances of being able to perform better in those conditions come October.
Well, there's plenty to look forward to. The IPL getting underway in a couple of weeks. We do still have the ODI series on talkSPORT 2 to come. But Virat Kohli, the India captain, with his side 2-1 down with 2 to play, losing the toss in both of those matches and still winning the game, spoke to the World Feed following the game.
We are very, very confident, very happy with how things have panned out, and we just want to keep moving forward with more and more positivity and fearlessness.
So Virat Kohli, a happy man, happy Virat Kohli. Wasn't so happy when Joss Buttler went off the field. I wonder what happened there. But it almost goes without saying, the guy top scored with 80 odd, maintaining his average, and it's almost like you just accept it or expect it from the India captain, didn't you?
Yeah, there is that expectation when he walks to the crease. And again, I spoke on air about this, but he's got such a versatility as a player. You know, he's opened the batting today. He came in at 4 the other day. He batted 3 at the start of the series. He's just such an amazing talent, and he's one of the reasons Indian fans love cricket anyway. But you know, he's like a god to them, isn't he? They literally worship the ground that he walks on. And it's because of games like today where he's anchored the innings for India. He's allowed Rohit to bat around him. He's allowed Yadav to bat around him, and Pandya to come in and bat like he did at the end. And he breeds confidence in his dressing room from his players, and we'll never know what he says behind closed doors, but whatever he's doing it very well.
I'd just like to see him bowl more. Look, there was an incredible moment in this match, and it didn't involve an India fielder, it didn't involve 2 India fielders, it involved England's Chris Jordan. Let's hear how it sounded on talkSPORT 2.
Rashid goes in, it's a googly to Surya Makhav, Yadav, oh what a catch Chris Jordan! Worldie, absolute worldie! That will be one of the greatest catches of all time, bar none.
It was one of those catches that you're just pleased to be able to see it and commentate on it. I thought Macca did a brilliant job, by the way. But it was the nonchalance of the catch. It was a one-handed grab, running round the outside of the boundary at wide, long, on. Just trying to think who the batsman was. It's almost irrelevant. Oh, it was Yadav, wasn't it? And it was just that moment of humour as well, because Jordan takes the catch so nonchalantly, you almost think he's just given up and it's disappeared for a 6. And then runs on, just throws it to Jason Roy. And it was the way Jason Roy, it just went perfectly to him. You know, sometimes the other fielder has to desperately make up the ground, don't they? But not only did he pluck the ball out the air, just as he goes off the boundary, he just chucked it to Roy. And Roy is laughing so much because he knows how brilliant it is. He knows he's going to catch the ball. He doesn't even have to move. Takes the ball. And wow, it was just brilliant. I'm just so glad I saw it live because we all reacted in the same way, didn't we? We see those kind of catches relatively frequently, but this was something special. Yeah,
and it always seems to be Chris Jordan, doesn't it?
Yeah,
he just has that ability to take those spectacular catches. And I think what a lot of people won't see, because that replay will be on the internet for years to come, but people will see the catch, but they won't see the work that he did before that. He would have been relatively straight, long on at that point. He's run probably 30 or 40 metres to his right, sprinted, so he's going at pace, taking it one-handed, which is ridiculous in itself. But the control that he had to get that ball back to Jason Roy, like you said, who knew it was going to happen. You could see from Roy's reaction that was going to happen. But yeah, it was just absolutely fantastic. And there was a small bit of the clip where the dugout are just behind Jordan and they can't, they've not seen it yet, but we obviously all know what's going to happen. And the shock on their faces was just, well, it's not a shock really, is it? Because he does it a lot.
No.
They expect that of him. Again, like we were talking about Virat with those expectations. You expect worldy catches from Chris Jordan and he delivers more often than not.
I'm only just thinking about this, but it reminds me slightly, it would be way before your time, but Sachin Tendulkar took a catch aged 17 at Lord's. Alan Lamb was batting and he just knocked it. And Tendulkar wasn't in danger of running out of over the boundary, but he literally ran along and caught it without breaking step and just carried on. And it was, well, actually it was even better than that, but it just comes to my mind.
I think the experience is completely invaluable. I think coming here, knowing that we would make mistakes along the way, regardless of the results in the games or the series, was a really healthy attitude to adopt. And I think game on game, we've learned little bits more about ourselves, both exposure and things to learn and build on moving forward, but also some really positives. You know, having played in the 2016 World Cup campaign all the way to the final, and we're beaten in the West Indies in India. We do have a lot of confidence here, but also playing against a really strong Indian team in their own conditions was a really good test for us. So lots of learnings and lots of positives as well.
England, really weird one, isn't it, to assess where England are now as opposed to where they were. In some respects, the waters have been muddied a little bit with that David Milan innings today. There was even some criticism of it on social media because he slowed down. But if you look at the innings itself, he's top scorer for England. And whilst he and Butler at the crease, we're thinking, well, this is a return to form. But India managed to change their tactics just when it looked like England were going to steamroll their way through to that victory target. And not for the first time, England didn't have an answer when it mattered. And that would be a concern for Owen Morgan and the side.
Yeah, I think so. Just touching on the David Milan innings, I think it's really, really easy to criticise him at that point. And we talked about how he lost momentum. That's not through lack of trying, you know. I think that was credit to Indian bowlers at that point. They really dragged that back. Thakur at that point was he's done it twice in 2 games now, hasn't he? He's taken key wickets at key moments, and he's taken them back to back, which is really important. That really does slow momentum down. But yeah, I mean, you've got a slight concern with mostly lack of cricket for me. I think you've got Owen Morgan, who hadn't had a lot of time in the middle in this series. But again, he's going over to the IPL. He's going to hopefully thrive off those conditions and use that as an opportunity to get practice in there, because the last 12 months for a lot of players has meant lack of game time. And you can practice in the nets and you can feel great in the nets, but nothing really substitutes for middle practice and middle time.
Yeah, a little bit more game time. But because England didn't chop and change, there was only one change in the entire 5 matches. And that was because Mark Wood had a little heel injury. So Tom Curran came in. But there's still questions. And look, there's still time. But there is still questions in and around. If England don't win the games through their big players, do they have the players on the outside to come in and get them over the line in the same way that we saw India do in that 4th T20?
Yeah, and that'll be a question for Owen Morgan and Silverwood to have a look at, to be honest. But like you said, there's time, which is brilliant. If we were going into a World Cup starting in 2 weeks' time, I think we'd be a bit more worried as England fans. But like I said, there's the IPL, we've got the T20 Blast in the summer, we've got the 100 still to play, and there's international cricket in between all of that. So there is still time for players to get game time, get confidence, which to me, that's all 2020 cricket is, it's confidence. If you go out there confident, you're more likely to perform.
There you go. Well, look, we do still have some cricket in India, of course. A 3-match ODI series, which gets underway in 3 days' time. So we're not going to see Jofra Archer probably, but we will see some of those players that we were wondering if they would play in this T20 side. Might see Reece Topley, might see Moeen Ali. That'd be something. But you can follow it all here on Outside Edge, following the action, which is on talkSPORT 2, of course, Kate Cross, as well as the likes of Steve Harmison, Mark Nicholas, Darren Goff, Gareth Batty, Matt Pryor, a whole host of top talent will be part of the commentary team for talkSPORT 2. So tune in then, but of course, following the action, you can watch us here on Outside Edge as well. Thanks for joining us, and don't forget to subscribe and use the comment section below.